All right, so a lot has changed in the last year, and so this video is both an update and kind of an introduction. I'm part of Podcastnik.com, I suppose, which is not just me. Before we called anything Podcastnik, Pete Coleman and myself started a couple of podcasts on history. I'll circle back around to Pete, and now Judith helps me with the history of Germany and her own circle of podcasts in German. And by now you could consider my boyfriend part of the team. He podcasts in German, has his own YouTube channel in English, and we have a channel together. Well, thanks for watching. And
Yes.
Hey, it's kind of crazy you're watching this. I don't know. It's none of your business. So.
Okay. Go away.
We also have Imad, a Syrian refugee translating stuff into Arabic. And I translate a show from German by Der Buddler into English. So they're all kind of a part of the team, whether they like it or not. And I'm Travis Dow. And our core competency, you might say, are history podcasts and videos like Past Access on history of Germany and alchemy, the Czech Republic, weird topics in the secret cabinet, whatever we feel like, mostly, and even a few shows in German. And I've just had a crazy year. I kind of need your help, actually, so let's start with what I'm doing right now. In Hamburg, I'm in the process of learning how to make traditional hard candy in Germany, like kind of in a big factory mostly. But the point is to then hand make the same sort of candy in Oregon. They are delicious, all natural flavors and colors, kind of handmade by traditional methods. But of course also like CBD varieties and, etc. because Oregon. And I think I have a place to do this, a few places to sell them, and you'll be able to get them online, for instance. And now I'm now recording this in November of 2019, and if you don't see this until sometime in 2020, they're probably already available somewhere. Until then, I'll be struggling to get all of this off the ground, and if you really want to help me, there's a GoFundMe, which is already doing pretty well. We have over a dozen supporters, and I'm kind of taken aback by how much support we have gotten so far. It is enough to probably buy some raw materials and start a batch or two and get learning, but still a ways away from buying all the equipment we need. And apparently in Germany it's kind of a thing that if not having a credit card is holding you back, there is a PayPal link too. So how did I get here anyways? Since about 5-6 months now, I left Silicon Valley and a string of well-paying but very unsatisfying jobs. And for those that don't know me at all, I lived in the Czech Republic for 10 years, kind of fell into an IT support role as a way to make a living overseas. I mean, what do you do? And it was never my thing, obviously. And for the last 8 years or so, I was a technical writer, which was actually great. I actually did enjoy doing that, but it's also just not who I am. And I was also married for about 10 years. And all of this ended this year. I lost my job a few times. Long gone were the days where technical writing was a sort of passion, where I tried to, innovate and think of some creative ways how to kind of get documentation across to users. And even my move from the Czech Republic to California was partially related to the fact that my marriage wasn't working. And after another almost 5 years in California, we did decide to get a divorce. This was, kind of tough to deal with, I suppose, but life goes on in weird ways and ways I could never have foreseen, actually, which now brings me to sometime in June 2019. This was actually the last month of my employment, which I didn't know that yet. And the month I met my boyfriend, though I didn't know that yet. And in fact, it was a month before I ever even thought about identifying as being gay. My ex-wife is smart, cute Costa Rican woman after all, so why would I rock the boat any more than I needed to? In any case, in June, I finally made it to a podcasting convention, one that I've been trying to get to for years, in Germany, where a bunch of podcasters and listeners meet up every summer. a huge chunk of whom I knew from like Twitter and collaborations and being a guest on their show. And I finally made it after like 3 years of trying. It's a gathering way out in the woods in the middle of Germany, a couple of stages for live events, one inside, outside. There's workshops and around 100 of just like the best folks ever kind of meet up, and they call that thing Podstock. And I don't know, long story short, it wasn't just a reunion of friends. I also tried to get to know the folks that I didn't know before. So I listened to a bunch of podcasts I hadn't heard before, and I tried to at least like chat with everybody there that I didn't know, and particularly one guy ended up leaving a lasting impression on me. In fact, I'm recording this in his apartment right now. That's my boyfriend Toby. And at Podstock, we only talked briefly, maybe once or twice, but I binge listened to basically his whole show, which is about his life, and it's in German, and he co-hosts that with a guy named Jan, and who's also great and deserves a mention for sure. And there's also Toby's YouTube channel, which is in English. And in any case, by about like a month later, in July, Toby occupied my mind quite a bit. And I was right in the middle of moving from California to Oregon, had just gotten fired. And right before I packed up my microphone, I sent him a very cheesy audio comment for his podcast. And I'm actually kind of shy, but the comment was in German, and I actually hide behind German a lot, actually. And besides that, he's very far away, right? He lives in Hamburg. So what's the worst thing that could happen if I tell a guy I'm falling in love with him? So we actually talk about all of that in way more detail on our YouTube channel, which is hashtag 5KRainbow, Toby and Travis. There's a link in the show notes. Like how I came out to the world. Now my plan, my crazy, completely insane plan of making candy in Oregon became our plan, and Toby wants to join me in Oregon, and which, especially to the United States, means a very complicated visa process, which I kind of know a thing or two about. Well, going back to YouTube for one sec, I'd say, let me just say, the pinnacle of anything we've ever produced, our flagship show, if you will, as in the best thing Podcastnik.com has ever produced, that has definitely got to be what Pete is doing out of Prague.
It's a show about where we've been and where we're going. It's a show about discovery.
Just outside of Prague, before the reenactment, day 2.
Welcome to the United States of America. What a great place to start here at the home of George Washington, the first president.
And it's a show about traveling with independence.
So here we are in Vienna, Austria, on Past Access.
From Stockholm, Sweden.
From Florence, Italy.
And from Prague.
And from Washington, D.C. Welcome to Barcelona. This is Past Access. I'm Pete Coleman, your host.
It's Past Access, your barrier-free tour through history with Pete Coleman.
And I mentioned in the beginning, this whole Podcastnik thing started almost 7 years ago with me and Pete talking history, like learning how to edit as we go and how to publish and all that stuff. So it just absolutely blows my mind that he's doing this now. If you want to support that show, if you want to support Past Access and Pete, we're looking into sponsors. We could use, there is a travel budget involved, which is, kind of a tight budget. Pete making a check salary and me being completely unemployed, basically. And I did basically intend for this to just be an introduction video. So we'll just leave all that there. But check out the description for links to all the things mentioned in the video, like the GoFundMe, which is so critical in my life right now. If you don't want to or can't contribute financially, you can still share that link on social media. That helps us get the word out and helps so much. You can visit podcastnik.com for all the links on all the projects, all the rest of the stuff we do. More details on who the team is, Judith and Budler and Toby and myself and Pete. Emod and collaborations on all that. If you don't see this until 2020 and the GoFundMe campaign is already over, there's always podcastnikshop.com. We sell t-shirts and merch and clever little witty stuff that we come up with. It's just another creative outlet of ours and we love doing it. Or there's just straight up PayPal and Patreon if you want to support us just outright, throw money our way. We really could use the help. And, well, yeah, thanks for watching.